Happy Tuesday, everybody. The day after Memorial Day. Our goal is to make this a memorable show, all right, as we always try to do every week. My name is Scott Morgan, Motor City Madmouth. Pleased to be joined by Bo Crouch, Melfar Jr., and Travis Holmes. Just going over the topics real quick, then we'll get right to it. We're going to talk about the Miami Dolphins owner, stephenross, NFL Total Access, Nathan Rourke. And by doing that, we're going to let these guys go ahead and say what's on their mind and parting shots. With that said, let's get to it. Welcome back, Bo. Travis, Mel.
Good to be back.
Thank you for having me back.
Thank you. You're
welcome. Mel did a good job on the Motor City Madmouth show last week. Obviously, I'm working to build that on the No Filter Network. Let's get right to it. According to Front Office Sports, Miami Dolphins billionaire owner stephenross turned down $10 billion for the following assets: the Miami Dolphins, hardrockstadium, the Miami Grand Prix. Only one question to each and every one. Yeah. Could he get more money the longer he sits on this? Bo?
Yeah, I mean, I think he could get more money now, which is probably why he didn't do it. You're talking about multiple venues and teams, and 10 billion is probably not enough based on the way the market is today. So it makes sense why he didn't sell it. That being said, 10 billion is a lot of money.
Okay. Mel, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, it's only going to get more valuable. I mean, that's just kind of the way these things work. So, and he obviously, we know he's a very smart businessman. He wouldn't have become a billionaire if he wasn't. So, I think he's taking the right strategy and is just going to wait it out and see what happens, see how it all plays out. And yeah, I definitely think it will be.
What do you think, Travis?
I mean, he purchased it all for what, $1 billion combined overall between the stadium purchase and the land and everything else. And he's been offered 10 times that. Obviously, this is not this may be one of those few situations where I actually believe the owner when he says, "Hey, man, this truly isn't for sale." They often say that, and then we don't really believe them because why are you negotiating something if it's not for sale? But I guess that's no different than my house not being up on the market, but somebody shows up to my house and offers me 5 times or 10 times the amount. I'm gonna listen to you, but it's still not for sale. If I come to that conclusion, if my wife says I ain't leaving, then it is what it is. So that's kind of how I feel about it. But he's a billionaire for a reason. Otherwise, there's no way I believe he wouldn't have made that deal.
Well, number one, the Miami Grand Prix is worth enough money in itself. That's a cash cow if I ever saw one. That's item number one. 2, I was covering the Dolphins back in the 80s. I'm going to tell you, when it was joerobbiestadium, and there was so much land around there. And to see what Ross has done, he's added the Miami Dolphins facility as well, training facility, and who knows what they're going to add next. You got tennis there, and that wasn't even added in there. It's just built in. So, yeah, you guys are right. The consensus is that stephenross didn't become a billionaire by accident, and I can only imagine should he ever want to sell this at all. And I don't see him doing it anytime soon. I think he can get $20 billion if he keeps sitting on it. And remember, you're talking Miami. Okay, Miami, $20 billion, not anywhere else. You got the beautiful weather and the amount of land surrounding the area. Yeah, there's no question. This is a unanimous that he can easily get more money. All right, the NFL Total Access is no more. 21 years on the NFL Network. Travis Holmes, are you going to miss it?
No, honestly. I mean, I should miss it because they're good for the various clips that you can watch on the socials and everything else. But for the most part, I don't watch a show. I don't watch a full episode. I'm not going to miss it in that way. And just the way that I digest my sports period is just not. I'm not watching very many full shows. I'm getting it through the socials. I'm getting it through the media. I'm getting it through the internet. Just like everyone listening to me right now is getting it through the internet, through their phones, etc. I'm the same way. I'm that, I guess, newer generation that's screwing up these paychecks for for those older guys on the networks and such. So it stinks, but I am the enemy apparently.
All right, let's go to the chat room real quick before I turn over to Mel. Ashton Nix, who, by the way, is on my crew for 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. This guy is absolutely fantastic. He really, really is. He's one of our newest additions here to the Network, and you know what? I got to know him on Twitter, as I have a lot of people. And you know what? When he tells you something, take it to the bank. Sport franchises are good business opportunities when you know what you're doing. You know what? Truer words could be mentioned there. Good evening, George. Good to see you tonight. Action, just look for him on baseball. All right, Bo, I'll turn it over to you. What do you think about access?
Yeah, I mean, I think everybody's kind of started to go away from normal TV shows. Some of it is just because of when they air, right? Unless you're on demanding it, a lot of times you're not watching them live anyway. So a lot of people are moving towards things that they can stream online. And a lot of these networks have started realizing that. So, and it hasn't mattered if it was NFL Network or Fox Sports, CBS, they've all laid off major anchors, so to speak, journalists. And I mean, this is just more of that. On the plus side, because they are headed this way, they are adding fuel to all of us that do podcasts. So, you know, more people are moving towards podcasts, videocasts like this. And so, I mean, realistically, as they trim their budgets, it helps us out.
Yeah, that's a good point. You know, go ahead, Mel.
So your question was, will I miss it? That was your question?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't miss something I never watched.
Exactly.
So no, I won't. I won't miss it one bit. I had to Google it to see what it was.
Well, at least you're being honest about it. You didn't watch it. Here's the thing about that show. When Rickeisen left, that's when it started to go downhill. It really did. And you're right. I didn't watch it a whole lot either. I did every once in a while, but I understand that as much as I love working with the NFL, you know, I can't be wound up watching so much on television when I have numerous responsibilities with what we end up doing. So I'm totally with you all the way. You know, Rich Eisen left. He was the life of that show. He knew what he was doing and all that. So good evening, Jeremy.
I mean, Rich left, but at the same time, it's quite possible that Rich just saw the writing on the wall too. I mean, there's a lot of shows that do great, but you can still see it's not doing as great as it should, or it's just not as easy as it used to be. I guess this show is no different than Alabama Crimson Tide. I guess in that way, it's just not as easy as it should be for all the work you're putting into it to make those numbers work. And maybe that's just what it comes down to.
All right, Candy, what it comes down to is this, okay? Why don't you give us a station break? And I know she will do it, right, Candy?
I mean, you know, all things being equal, Rich Eisen basically has a podcast at this point, right? He's broadcast on Roku, and that's it.
Right. I mean, for the most part, he's still getting it done.
Yeah. And guys like Colin Cowherd, I mean, he's still on FS1, but he has his own podcast.
All of them do. Stephen A. Smith. I mean, Shannon Sharp. I mean,
exactly.
the broadcast, the network show gives them a name, and then they build their brand on their podcast. And you see a lot of them. You know, Shannon's he's only on there 2 days a week now. I think it is on First Take, whatever it's called. I think he's on there 2 days a week.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, but he's podcasting a lot more than he was when he was at FS1. That's for certain.
No doubt.
So station identification. If you see that red subscribe button, that means you have not subscribed yet. Please do so. Like, share us with all of your friends. Monday nights we talk baseball, 108 Stitches Baseball Talk. Tuesday nights is football inside the pigskin. Wednesday nights you will find Sports Exchange. You will also find on a new network, No Filter. Scott does a one-on-one interview show. It's nofilter.net. And then Thursday nights, to be determined. You can find all of our podcasts wherever you get your podcasts. Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, CastBox, Deezer, you name it, Geo7, we're on it. We also have a website, www.southfloridatribune.com, where you can see Scott's writing and my pictures taking. You can see transcripts from the Jags, the Lions, the Dolphins, press releases from all of them, from a lot of the local colleges down here in South Florida. You name it, you see it, you can read about it. You also can advertise or sponsor a show. Call Scott 954-304-4941. Scott actually went out there and wrote a book about his time in the media. It is called Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. It's available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple, and Google. Get your copy today. Back to the program.
Thank you, Candy. Also, if you want to find us on Twitter /X at Tribune South, gets it done. All right, off to the chat room. That's for all. Looks like we have some good participation here. George Icorn, without a doubt. Ashton is a good sports guy. Oh yeah, he's a. I'm looking forward to working him as often as we get a chance. Okay, kneecap biting. Good evening, Jeremy. Okay, Rich Rising. Yeah, we know it's Eisen. Okay, keep it going. And rest in peace, Bill Walton. Yeah, that was big news of yesterday. Bill Walton passed away at the age of 71 due to cancer. Almost all the on-air personnel use that to grow their personal networks. It's called savvy social networking. Yeah, no doubt about it. Podcasting does help these guys grow their other thing, and I'm finding that out as we go on and on. And Bo made an outstanding point that when you ultimately go to streaming, like we're doing, you need every tool you can. In fact, when I was out in Toronto and I talked to Don Mattingly, and I was told him what I feel, Don and I are just friends, okay? I didn't go to Toronto the last time looking to get an interview with him. I'll mention him when I write my story over at the Blue Jays. But I told him, he said, boy, you're involved with a lot of things, including the podcasting. Don, that's the way I can grow the brand. Plus, I have a book. So, yeah, I have to get it out there any way that I can. So there's no doubt about that. So Bo, you make an excellent point there. And Jeremy, your point's well taken as well. That indeed, okay, their personal networks are what they are. It is rare that social media guys become a network guy. Well, I don't know about that, Jeremy. We'll see. I'll leave that one subject for a discussion with these guys if they want to address it.
Well, I mean, it's easier to go one way than the other. That's for sure. It's easier to be a network guy and then get on to social media than it is the other way around. You can do it, but the odds are lower.
Yeah, when I was up in what I am a part of the Southern California sports broadcasters, and some of those guys being a network with some of the local stations are still using it as an aid of sorts. So with that said, I have one last topic, and then I'm going to let the crew go ahead and tell me what's on their mind. Canadian quarterback Nathan Rourke lands with the New York Giants off waivers from the Patriots, previously with Jacksonville. So I guess my question to you guys is, will he ever see the field in New York aside from the preseason? You know what, Travis? I'm turning to you first.
I'm a Nathan Rourke fan, huh? Yeah, and I am. There's no sarcasm in that statement. I was a fan when the Jacksonville Jaguars signed him from the CFL. I was a fan of him even when the Patriots signed him, thinking he might have an opportunity there. Going into the next season before the draft occurred, obviously. And I'm still a fan of his as far as a developmental quarterback, especially for this New York Giants team who is lacking skill at the quarterback position, frankly. The Giants have an opportunity to get off that Daniel Jones contract, frankly. I mean, if they're willing to eat that dead cap, they can get off of it as a post-June 1st cut this year. And obviously next year they easily get off of it. So to answer your overall question, does he have an opportunity? Yeah, I would believe so. He's better than Tommy DeVito, in my opinion. And that's your third string guy. So it's really just a conversation of what do you feel about Drew Lock? Because we know how everyone feels about Daniel Jones. They're going to face the seventh strongest as far as their defense is concerned, they're facing the seventh strongest strength of schedule of this year of the Giants. So that's not a good situation if you're talking about trying to evaluate your quarterback in a make it or break it year. I could see that absolutely starting off a little bit rocky. And if that results in, I'm going to a Drew Lock or I'm going to a Nathan Rourke, at that point, I'm going with I'm going with Bitcoin. I'm to the moon. I'm going to go with the guy who I think has a chance to truly just take the Minshew mania this sucker. And that is Nathan Rourke.
Yeah, I like Nathan Rourke. Back to the chat room real quickly, Jeremy. Yeah, I know that you're not saying it cannot be done. Anything can be done if you put the work into it. And secondly, now that he's on this topic with us, is there any one set in stone that's quarterback New York? The answer is no, and I totally agree with you. But that said, hey, Dusty, how are you, buddy? Welcome to the show. All right, Mel, I'm going to turn over to you. What do you think about Nathan Rourke?
Not much. Be honest with you. I mean, I
I'll tell
never
you,
heard of the guy. I saw it. I mean, I had to Google who is this guy. Why are we talking about him? Look, man, it's tough, and I've said it before, man. That league is tough, and it's so much harder to prove that you can play than it is to prove that you can't play. You're at a disadvantage coming in because anytime you make a mistake, there's going to be somebody there that's going to say, "See, I told you the guy couldn't play." Whereas if you're a number one draft pick like Daniel Jones, he's going to get another chance. Well, just give him another chance. He'll be okay. He'll be fine. He can play. We've seen him do it before. He'll be fine. It takes a long time for them to fall out of love with somebody. A lot longer to fall out of love with somebody than it does to fall in love with somebody. So it's a good opportunity for the kid. He gets an opportunity to size himself up against real NFL competition and to see where he is and to be able to make a decision whether or not he wants to continue to pursue this dream or, if he should go out there and find himself a real job and get on with the rest of his life. There's nothing wrong with it. I mean, there is the United Football League if he wants to continue to play at a high level, but eventually at some point in time, you're going to get tired of lifting and working out, being out there in that hot sun. And, after a while, that gets to be tough, man. You start making the decision, man, is this really worth me getting off the couch, or, going out there and in that hot sun? I mean, is it worth it for me? Yeah, okay, I can make X amount of dollars, but I can do the same thing, doing something else. So, I think it's good for him, but I don't read much into it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, let me add something to it. That's a good point, Mel. One of the reasons I actually brought Nathan Rourke on here is I don't know about you guys, but I really like to see Canadian Football League quarterbacks take the jump to the NFL, or if they haven't gotten much playing time before, they work out. So, for example, we know many years ago with Warren Moon, never got an opportunity in the NFL. Well, ditto the Houston Oilers and Hugh Campbell. Doug Flutie got excessive playing time up there, which is really good. So I don't know what it is. I'm fascinated by Canadian Football League quarterbacks willing to try out the NFL, and you never know when you're going to find one that works out. They certainly are pretty advanced in the passing game because that is a passing league type of game is really what it is. So
and he's a former CFL MVP. Like he's not just some guy. He was a good Canadian player.
Damon Allen was an MVP as well. I mean, he has all the records there.
Does he?
He never crossed over or said he wanted to play in the NFL. He just stayed up there in the CFL and just was, had a great career up there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, nothing wrong with that. Again, like he said, as MVP. So I'm always fascinated by hidden gems of where you get the talent. And the best ones to find talent all over the place to me are the ones that are obviously going to win year in and year out. All right, Bo, crunch this topic and see what you've got.
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as opportunity is concerned, this is probably the best spot for him to land. There is no clear-cut favorite to win that job. They obviously don't have a ton of faith in Daniel Jones. Realistically, I think Drew Lock could beat out Daniel Jones as QB1, right? And although Jeremy thinks there's 4 QB3s on that roster, I would say Drew Lock is a solid QB2. Like he's proven he can step into that role. Daniel Jones is probably in that same kind of capacity. So, I mean, if there was a chance for him to outshine the guys that are already on the roster and get a shot, this is that team.
Yeah, no question about it. All right. Well, you know what? Like I said before, I like looking for hidden gems. And you know what, Bo, you're right. I think the Giants are one of his best shots, knowing that the amount of quarterbacks they have on that team. Obviously, we'll know more in training camp, but when you have a guy who's a former MVP of a professional league, I'm not selling him short. So, all right, I'm going to do something different tonight, which will probably become permanent. It most likely will become permanent. Everybody's going to have a parting shot topic of their own. You know what? I'm going to lead off with this one real quickly, okay? Dak Prescott says he's motivated by the Dallas Mavericks and Stars' success going in, and it'll put more pressure on him. So, but he forgot about the Texas Rangers. To me, tell you this about Dak Prescott. This is hogwash. I do believe this is just my opinion, that Prescott is the most overhyped, overpaid quarterback in the NFL. And that's all there is to it. You know what? The Cowboys, to me, should have won that title by now with all the talent that Jerry Jones has had around you. But Dak Prescott has come up short at key moments. He really, really does. And yeah, of course, Jeremy needs to motivate himself. All right. Well, let me ask you, Jeremy, is it the money enough to motivate you in keeping your job? Give me a break. I understand where you're coming, but to me, okay, if this guy needs a hype job, then as far as I'm concerned, they should move on within the next couple of years from Dak Prescott. I am not I don't really care about Dak Prescott whatsoever.
I think they should take Dak at his word and pay him zero.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you don't need the money, not much in the way of winning playoffs.
He said he doesn't play for money. Okay.
Yeah,
Challenge
that'd be great. Yeah, I agree. Not much in the way of winning playoff games. Yeah, there's no question, Jeremy.
Take him for his word.
Y'all harsh, man.
Yeah.
Y'all
Give him a contract with zeros on it.
Yeah, there you go. We'll see how much motivation he needs after that one. So
exactly.
That's my.
We hear tens and tens and tens, and if not hundreds of NFL players make this same statement nearly every year, and no one gives them the ire because they don't play quarterback or they're not the person who has, I mean, this guy's not even the top 10.
I have not heard one person say that they don't play for the money.
Oh no! I mean, Foye Oluokun for the Jaguars, the linebacker, just said it last month. Like, I mean, these guys say it all the time that we don't play for the money, or I don't care about that, or whatever language you want to put around it. I'm playing for championships. I'm playing for this. I'm playing for that. But it's not about the money. You may get a few guys like a wide receiver or a cornerback. Those guys always will say they'll tell the truth out loud and say they are playing for the money. But most of the other guys, most of the other guys, they're gonna just be like, nah, it ain't about that. It's about the competition, etc. I mean,
and some of those guys do reflect some of that in their contract negotiations, where they're not trying to bury the team by being the most paid guy. Obviously, they're going to get what they can, right? But some of those guys you can see take lesser when they want to try and go get a ring. Usually it's later in their career where they're like, you know what, I'm going to go wherever I can because I want some hardware.
It's later in the career when
they've already made the money. Yes,
bingo. They built up that piggy bank now, and now they want to go and buy that championship.
Contract is money every time.
Yeah, but I'm like, he's the 12th highest paid quarterback in the league right now. Like, can we at least be reasonable and say Dak Prescott is more likely than not in the top 12 quarterbacks? I don't think that's being over the top right there, and I'm not even.
I'm not giving him that, but if you want to, that's all right to you.
I'm going to give him that.
I'll give him that.
Top 12. Yeah,
top 12 with all the quarterbacks that have played in the NFL. Really?
No, he's talking about the top 12 right now.
Right now.
Well, I wouldn't even put him in the top 12 now.
I mean, he's just saying
that craziness to talk about.
Hate. Come on.
Oh, I'm not putting him in the top 12 now. Maybe you know what, Paul? Do me a favor, okay? Send me a text later, and we can make a topic out of that. Top 12 now. All right, do that later on.
Tell me of who's available, who you would take over.
Well, right now we'll save it for next week. We got a cliffhanger here. We're going to go ahead and talk about.
We got time. We're only 20 minutes into this day.
Oh yeah, but some of these chats are getting interesting. All right, these chat fight here, tell me. Oh, here, let's feed off of this a little bit. Okay, number one, the final year of a contract, bloated, $58 million, backloaded. Good stuff, Jeremy. Okay, backloaded.
Yeah, but that's not on Dak. That's on the team.
No. Well, that's true.
That's
I agree. But the bottom line is he didn't. $58 million. It may not be on him, but obviously he's collecting the cash. And
all I'm saying is, that's blame on that's still on the accounting team. They got nothing to do with that.
Yeah,
they're gambling on what the salary cap is going to be, so they backload those contracts.
Right.
Yeah, he's not getting that cash. That's the cap hit.
No, he's already got that cash.
That's a Jerry Jones problem. That's not who your ire should be going to.
No, in fact, next year could be really crazy because if they don't extend
Jerry
him,
Jones could fix the problem by giving him an extension. He could fix that problem,
but he don't want to do that.
Yeah, but and if they don't, next year is going to be wild because he may not be on the roster, and they're still going to have a dead cap of $60 million for him.
Well, Mel, let me tell you, my friend, I live in the present. That's all. I don't care about next year. Okay, how many of these video casts are we going to do between now and then? Give me a break, really? I mean. Whatever. I mean, now
that's not the problem.
And the
Bingo.
problem is, I think he's overrated, and that's what I think is the problem. And you know what? The Dallas Cowboys, I don't think have been to an NFC Championship game since 1995, right? No matter how many different quarterbacks that they've had, they still haven't gotten there. And Mr. Prescott always finds a way to make that costly turnover.
You cannot blame.
He doesn't find the players.
You can't blame that loss in the playoffs this last year on him. That defense was ridiculous.
Right.
Because if you watched a receiver, they were playing this weird soft coverage zone that also didn't somehow wasn't in the zone. Like everybody had 5 yards around him. I don't know what you expected Dak to do. Now, did he play a perfect game? No. Could he have played better? Sure. He could not overcome the defense they put on that field.
Bingo.
No, I don't have to blame him for the last one.
It was a good enough game to win, and that's the piece that matters.
Yeah, I don't have to blame him on the last one. I got enough of them in the past to blame him on, so I don't care about that. All right, so here,
you're not wrong though. Dak Prescott, both things can be true. Dak Prescott could potentially be overrated, but also still being underpaid. That's my argument.
All right, but here, let's take it to another level here.
I think he's underrated. I think he's underrated, but there's big expectations in Dallas because of who the owner is.
I mean, he's Kirk Cousins with more cameras. That's what he is.
Well, that's true.
Like he has more cameras on him. Kirk Cousins, everybody likes him. They know he comes up short in key spots, but he's played for teams that haven't been the best over the years and is a stat monster. Well, when you look at Dak, he has very similar success.
There you go.
Very similar numbers. He just happens to have the Dallas media trained on him. He would have that same kind of hate if he did this.
He's got the national media on it.
Yeah, that needs to go to Houston and get and buy a grill, and then everybody gonna love him all of a sudden.
Well, let me tell you this.
If he was doing this in Minnesota, everybody'd be like, "Oh, hey, we're in the playoffs every year."
Let me tell you this, Travis. You and I were at the Jaguars and the Cowboys game. And, you know, well, we were glad he laid an egg there, weren't we? Because that was a big case.
He didn't lay that egg, man. And I'm a Jaguars fan. That man threw a ball that hit, who was it, Noah in the chest, and then bounced up into the Jaguars defender's hands, and he ran it back for a pick six. And you can hit somebody in the chest, and you blame the other quarterback for throwing an interception. I'm sorry.
Well, can I ask you a question? Okay, let me ask you a question about that. Here, this is getting interesting. That's why we have a few topics here, because I want to make sure we lay on the beef here. Okay, when people look at the stats down the road, they're not going to look at that video. They're only going to look at interceptions and what they came up. Okay, they don't have a video attached to every interception that's in the stat sheet. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's why we go above and beyond, baby. This is like student of the game material. We telling y'all more. We're going above the stat sheet. We're not stat sheet watchers. We all play the game. We all analyze this. We taking this to a whole nother level. Let's go.
I agree. We're doing it. All right, back to the chat room a little bit as we continue. And I'm sure we're going to roll with this one.
That was a skit. Who
Mad
did that?
TV. The Key and Peele guy.
Oh, yeah, it was. That's who it was. Right. No, that was what's his name? When he interviewed Ice-T. No, he interviewed The Rock. He interviewed The Rock and Exhibit.
And it was the guy from Key and Peele. It was the Keegan Michael, whatever his name.
The guy with three first names.
Yeah.
Well, here, everybody wants to blame Jerry Jones, okay? So let's play the Jerry Jones card a little bit.
Okay.
Jerry Jones asked to win one more Super Bowl when he fired Jimmy Johnson, which we all know was a gift of Barry Switzer. He got exactly what he asked for. Yeah, all right, no question about it.
He asked God for that. Now he's going to have to go to the other side and get that other one.
The only thing I'm going to say about that, Jeremy, is I wonder how many Christmas cards that Barry Switzer has mailed Jimmy Johnson for getting that piece of jewelry he didn't deserve. That's all I can tell you. That was a gift.
Probably none.
Exactly.
He was a good football coach in his own right.
Yeah, but that was in college. You're not going to sit here and tell me he was great for the Cowboys when he got it handed to him, because if you do, Mel, seriously.
We all know that. We all know those were Jimmy's players, but I mean, you know.
I'll only give Barry Switzer credit for what he did at Oklahoma, not Dallas, because you know what? As we saw earlier toward the end of the year, how did Jimmy Johnson got his name in the Ring of Honor, right? And now Jerry's starting to show a little bit of love. And if Jerry gets a little bit older, right, okay, maybe I need Jimmy after all, because I have to bite my tongue, eat my ego. Okay. I can't do this alone. I need Jimmy.
So if we're doing that, then we need to give Tony Dungy that Super Bowl that John Gruden won.
Let's go. Let's go.
I wouldn't think about that in a heartbeat because John Gruden didn't win it anyways. That's easy, Mel. Give me something more difficult than that because that was easy. Tony Dungy should have 2 Super Bowl
I'm like,
rings.
okay, I'm just saying.
But Jerry's a solid GM. I'll give him credit for that. He's way too in the media. He's all P Diddy, all in the middle of the screen, dancing and everything. But overall, sorry, not Diddy in that way. I'm just talking about he's Mace. There you go. He's Mace. He's all in the screen, dancing and everything. He's on the radio. He's doing a little too much there. But overall, he's a solid GM though. Like he has put together some pretty good teams that probably have been good enough to win one, if not multiple championships. I give him credit there.
His ability to build a roster has been fantastic.
Yeah.
No, Jerry Jones is a great marketer. And
Yes.
that's what he is.
Go there.
Better than anything else. Because we were talking about whether it was last week or whatever, the valuation of that franchise. At one time, NFL football teams were not very valuable.
Yeah.
It was the soccer clubs, as they call them, over in Europe that were the most valuable franchises. Then all of a sudden things flipped. Roger Goodell they stopped calling them football teams. They started calling them clubs. And these franchises, all of a sudden, somehow or another, the owners, got the, they all got big egos too. They know that some of these NFL owners own football clubs over there in Europe. And they say that this is not going to work. They figure out a way to merchandise, market this product to where now these franchises are some of the most valuable in the world.
Well, yeah, there's no question. But I want to say this, okay? I agree with you. There's no question that, Jerry Jones isn't a billionaire for nothing either. We talked about Stephenross earlier. But here's the thing we all have to understand about this whole thing is Jimmy Johnson fleeced the Minnesota Vikings in that Herschel Walker trade and not Jerry Jones, okay? Jerry Jones was desperate coming off some bad seasons, and he needed Jimmy in the worst way. Okay, yeah, Robert Wardell, Jerry is an egomaniac, and what it makes sense.
Well, they came in together, so those bad seasons were Jimmy's. The bad seasons was Jimmy's.
Yeah, all right.
They came in together, but I mean, he had to rebuild the roster the way that he wanted. He had to get his players in there, and he did it his way, and he came up with his little formula. Putting value on the draft picks, and they figured out a way where they could always win when they're doing their trades.
I won't even question Jerry Jones. Okay, lately for some of the draft choices he's made, he's been pretty good. But let's put it this way: Mr. Fleece is Jimmy Johnson. Okay, I don't care about Jerry Jones. He's done all right with some of his facts, but they haven't led very much. Jeremy, I know about the Jared Goff, Matt Stafford dream that was built around him. I get that, but you know what? Well, we'll try to stay on topic here, knowing full well that your analogy is appreciated very much. But we're talking about the fact that here, okay, Dak Prescott to me and Jerry Jones and all that circus that you call in Dallas is what it is. I know Jerry Jones is a century's Al Davis, senile and gets exactly what he pays for, sure. But at least he's got that kind of money, doesn't he? All right, Travis, you want to add to this?
Nah, man. I'm just. It said Jerry Jones is an egomaniac, and I'm like, I mean, yeah. What billionaire? Thank you. I mean, isn't that all of these guys? Like, that's kind of what it is. You're a billionaire. You own things. You own all these people. You own all these organizations. I'm sorry, I'm going to call it what it is. You own these people in a lot of ways.
We get what you're saying.
Yeah, no. I mean, it is what it is. And at the end of the day, why? And this goes back to the Miami Dolphins owner conversation. Why would you sell something if I own everything? I have a yacht. I got multiple houses. I got all these things. I have me owning this thing, this football team, this football club, as you guys said, is way more important than anything you can pay me. Because what am I gonna do with that money? Buy another club? Like, come on, this is the thing that gives him into way more doors than that money ever will.
Yeah, let's go. They'd have to knock him off his feet with an offer, and $10 million just wasn't getting it done.
Yeah, let's go to Robert Wardell.
$10 billion.
I want to go to Robert Wardell. He's got a good one. How is Jerry a good GM? He's willing to overpay and overrate Dak. Well, that's kind of where I've been going. That's where I've been going with it. Go ahead, Bo.
Yeah, so he is good at bringing talent in. That's why he's a good GM, because that's your primary role, whether it's through the draft, free agency, whatever. He finds a way to get good players on this team. The problem is then he gets in his own way. He needs to be a GM, and then maybe jump on someone's spaceship and go visit the space station or something for the entirety of the football season, I think they perform a little better because he wants to be in front of the camera and become a distraction. But as far as him getting talent in the door, they've had some incredibly talented rosters that underperform.
Yeah, I agree. And I actually had an opportunity many years ago to meet Jerry Jones when I was covering a Cardinals game. And we talked about the Lions keeping the Thanksgiving game. And let's talk about the power the man has in the league. He said, he told me, he was really nice. I got like 3 or 4 questions. And look, Jerry, he gave me a one-on-one. He was great. And he said, you know what? There's no way Detroit's going to lose that game.
Yeah.
And then he says, I guarantee it. And I'm thinking, oh, no, all right. This guy, I remember he orchestrated that move to LA when the Rams moved there. So, let's talk about separate Jerry Jones, the businessman, GM himself, so I'm with you. I'm glad we spent some time on it. I think the topics.
The problem with Jerry is he gets too emotionally attached to some of his players. And that's where he ends up making a bad decision, like the Ezekiel Elliott decision. Right. That's the guy he probably shouldn't have paid.
Right. A great GM is Lil Wayne, able to build his corporation. A bad GM or Jerry's more like Suge Knight. He's able to build a good organization, but he just can't get out the way in that way, and it causes problems downstream. That's all.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to put one chat up there, and I'll let one person add to it because you 3 have parting shots as well. I guess I stumbled onto a lightning rod here, and that's why I let so much go in.
That you called him Suge.
That's all right. No, it's good. I love the stimulating conversation. And I acknowledge every chat as long as it's intelligent with good intentions and good faith. No problem. All right, so I'm going to put it up there. And which one of you guys wants to answer the question? Because Bo is next with his parting shot. This year, he went to the space station during free agent, or was it the hyperbolic chamber? All right, who wants to address this one?
I'll let Travis have that one.
I'm not even sure what we're talking about. Like, is this a Space Jam theme? I don't know what's happening.
It's because I made the comment that as soon as he's done cultivating talent, he needs to get off the planet so he can stop being a distraction. That's where he was going there.
I got you.
It was more figurative than literal, but I mean, he has the money to go there. So I guess there's that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now that you answered that question, Bo, you have a parting shot. Go ahead.
Yeah. So it actually, oddly enough, is still with the Cowboys in the way of he does like to overpay in bad situations. And do you guys think he doubles down on a bad situation with Dak? Because it sounds, he's in that position with CeeDee Lamb now, where maybe they trade him. Maybe they go ahead and blow this thing up.
Yeah, I think they let him go. They have the kid there from San Francisco. I think he wants to get cheaper at that position, and I think he wants to try to blow it up right now because, what other choice do you have? For whatever reason, he's never, regardless of what he said, I don't think he's all that in love with Dak.
Well, yeah, you didn't want to pay him last time either.
Exactly.
He was just always afraid. Well, who do I replace him with? Now you have Treylance there. Maybe you give him a shot. And then, the draft, there's always, somebody coming up, somebody, and you just take a flyer at somebody and then draft. But I do believe that they're going to let him walk. If he plays this season, they're going to let him walk because he has a no trade clause, and he also can't be franchise tagged. So he'll be a free agent. I think Jerry lets him walk.
Yeah, and you know what, Mel, the guy you're referring to is Treylance, who we talked about a couple of weeks ago. So I couldn't agree with you more. There's a reason why Jerry Jones made that trade to get Treylance there. Whether he's the ultimate guy down the line, I don't know. But for some reason, Jerry Jones, the type of person that he is,
he's taking a big swing. He's taking a big swing.
Yeah, no, I'm with you there. So, all right, well, that's who I think. I agree with you, Mel. Okay, so anybody else?
All right, but Trey Lance is also on the last year of his contract. Like, that's the other thing. So he's going to have to pay Lance at least for backup money, just to keep him. Like, everything says that this whole thing is going to be blown up after this season, down from the coach's contract to Dak's casual contract, down to where the dead cap actually hits as far as the team is concerned. The fact that they don't have very much depth on the team, so everything is truly put until that front line, and all of it lines up saying, win it this year or all of you are out of the door. And that's fine.
I think if they win it, I think even if they win it, they're out the door. It's going to be like the Bulls.
Yep.
Mm.
Well, and they
That's
don't
rough.
have the team to win it this year anyway.
Well, of course they
Well,
don't.
look
But
at
I
all
think
the
that's
players
just
that.
ultimatum.
Yeah, but think
They
about
got
some of
Zeke-
the players
they got
that
Zeke
have
back.
already. But think about it. Think about the players that have departed already. It's not getting any easier for them.
No, and that's why I think CeeDee Lamb may be out the door.
Okay.
Because I mean, at this point, you're not really a team that's going to compete.
Yeah.
You got to figure out what his extension is going to be.
If you're gonna have Trey Lance as your quarterback, you need to have a viable weapon for him. So I think they'll pay him. I think they, for whatever reason, these owners like to pay wide receivers big money, $30 million a year. I don't understand it, but
I mean,
I think he's going to get his money.
But if
then you got to deal with
but
Micahparsons next year.
if they're Trey Lance though.
Yeah, I'm like, if there's a position that they're going to be
you don't have
willing to trade, it's going to be a
lot of money.
receiver.
You don't have to pay him a whole lot of money.
Yeah, but who else you gonna bring in, because he's going to be good for a game.
Yeah, I mean, that's something he's going to
you draft a guy, I guess.
You'd have to, right? Because you're probably not paying Cooper Rush, right? So that means you have Lance, a guy.
I mean, Adrian Martinez is looking good in the UFL.
Yeah, you know what, Mel? He really is.
He was with the Lions, wasn't he? I liked him. I thought he had a chance to make it.
Yeah, but you know what, Mel? That validates everything you've been saying from the start. That United Football League, to me, will produce some good players. And you're right, Adrian Martinez, could be on an NFL roster before.
Wasn't he with the Lions last year in training camp?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he was. But you know what? I'm looking at a body of work with the United Football League. This guy here will be a hot commodity when that season's over. So that's an excellent point, bringing up Adrian Martinez. And, he's playing for the Birmingham Stallions, right? I believe so.
Yeah.
And, they're looking to repeat as UFL champs. So we'll see. We're not UFL, but they won it last year with the USFL. In fact, I think they won it 2 years in a row with the USFL, didn't they?
I got you. Yeah, I'm just not sure that CeeDee Lamb's going to even be on this roster at the trade deadline. So I guess
he's number 88. Come on, man. He's going to get his money. That's number 88.
Yeah, let's go to Robert Ward.
88's going to get 86th, I think, is what's going to happen.
Let's go to Robert Wardell's comment about CD. I know you guys are talking about it. I think CD will get what Jefferson gets and then ask for more, I bet. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, right now they're just playing wait and see. The first one signs and the next one's going to leapfrog that one, and he's just trying to be the last guy to sign right now.
Right.
Yeah,
none of those receivers want to sign.
Yeah,
and the Cowboys, I just don't see them being the ones to sign to put that money into the future when you have everything else that screams, "I'm done with y'all all this year."
Yep. Yeah, with the way it's falling apart, I can't imagine that they do, but they're in a position where if they don't, they're going to have to trade him, because otherwise he walks.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, they can franchise tag him, right?
Oh, that's true too.
Yeah, let's go back to Robert Wardell. He's making some pretty good points. I want to get this
money-wise to be hard.
Yeah, Philly has to be stoked. There is no one in their division who will be good at any time. Yeah, we'll just make that.
I mean, Philly ain't good. What you talking about?
What are you talking about?
Philly's average.
Philly's going to be a good team this year.
We thought Philly, the Giants, and Washington. I mean, who you got?
We thought Philly was going to be good last year. They were at 500.
They addressed the problems that they had last year.
What was the problem they had last year?
The OC was hurt.
Secondary.
Man, the OC was the problem, in my opinion.
Was hurt.
Well, I mean, yeah, they replaced all those things.
Yeah, and they also replaced the center. They're all pro center.
They got a defensive coordinator. They got a defensive coordinator there now, right?
Yeah. Well, and the guy they replaced their center with was the heir apparent anyway. It was the guy that Kelsey was bringing along to be his replacement. So it's not like, and he was on that offensive line last year. He was a guard.
I hear you, but how often is the heir apparent ever as good as the person that they're replacing? How good is Michael Jordan's son?
And they say Kenny Pickett's looking good, man.
Yeah, but he's not going to. Come on, man.
Let's go.
I was trying to make a point, and then, man.
Well, here's another.
I got nothing for that one.
Yeah, I don't really know, but I like the point.
I mean, they said he's been looking better than Jalen Hurts. That's what I'm saying. The 7-on-7 and stuff like that. They say he's been looking good.
Yeah.
No, but I mean, they do have a good running back. I mean, they did things where they should be a better team this year than they were last year.
Oh, I'm not saying they're going to be a bad team. I just think they're
on their team. They're going to be good.
Yeah, so let's Robert Wardell. Okay, watch Philly trades down and later signs in free agency. Just
that would be hilarious.
I would, yeah. Well, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised. That division's ruthless. All right. Well, with that said, Mel, you have a parting shot. Good stuff, though.
Yep.
I enjoyed that, Paul, because you and I were talking about the Cowboys. So let's see if Mel can find another team other than the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I'm going to a whole other sport. It's not even football. And Jeremy had mentioned it earlier, and I just feel real lucky, man. I was watching some stuff. Obviously, my condolences to the family of Bill Walton. I'm trying to think if I ever met him, and I don't think I ever met Big Red. But just watching some things about him and just having an opportunity to reflect back on where I went to school and some of the men that came out of that school, whether it be Ralph Bunch, whether it's Jackie Robinson, Willie Strode, Kenny Washington, Rayford Johnson, Arthur Ashe, Jimmy Johnson, who a lot of people don't realize played for the San Francisco 49ers, not that Jimmy Johnson, but the Jimmy Johnson that played for the San Francisco 49ers, who was Rayford Johnson's brother. And the list just goes on and on and on about the hallowed grounds that I was able to walk on while I was at UCLA, and some of these great men that that institution produced. Some of the great men and some of the great thinkers of all time. And just just watching the stuff on Bill Walton yesterday just gave me an opportunity to reflect on that. Like, man, how lucky am I, man? How blessed was I to be able to walk on those same grounds that these great men walked on. And so I was just feeling reflective yesterday. So that's my parting shot.
Yeah, you know what? I never met Bill Walton. Of course, a lot of my NBA stuff went away when I moved to South Florida back in 2002, except for the Pistons and Miami Heat. But so I'm on the air. But my only connection to Bill Walton happens to be the biggest one of them all. I had the opportunity to spend time with his coach, John Wooden, when I covered the University of Georgia take on UCLA in a non-conference game, and just being around Coach John Wooden to me is unbelievable. So if Bill Walton undoubtedly learned from Coach John Wooden, then there's no doubt in my mind, at Pauley Pavilion, he definitely got the right mentor for sure. And I'll leave it.
And I'm glad you brought him up because I forgot about Kareem and I forgot about John Wooden. I remember going. We would go to the games just to see John Wooden, and then he knew my dad because he was coaching there obviously when my dad was playing there, so he was always real kind to me. But to be able to be in his presence and know what he accomplished at UCLA, I mean, it's just mind-boggling what he was able to accomplish. I mean, they won 7 straight national championships. Bill Walton, I think they were 88-0 at one particular time. I mean, that's just unheard of.
Well, Coach Wooden won 11 national championships, as I understand.
But they had won 7 in a row.
Right.
Or was it 9 in a row? Whatever it was, they won a bunch in a row up until the time where they were 88-0 and they ended up losing. Where Bill Walton was 88-0 sophomore and junior years, and they ended up losing that game to I forgot who it was. They lost to. I forgot, but they ended up losing that one basketball game. His sophomore year they won by an average of 31 points a game.
Well, let me tell you this. Coach Wooden's pyramid of success, to me, is something that I can tell you right now. I have it on my office wall, and I look at it as something that I go out there and believe every bit. If I need wisdom, I go right to that. Forget about the rest. Coach Wooden was great. My only regret was I never had a camera phone. I could write a book on what I lost without camera phones, and now I'm trying to go to places where I didn't have them, so at least I could get some of them later. I'll talk about that one day when I get to my Toronto stuff when I was at Maple Leaf Gardens. But yeah, if you haven't been to a UCLA game, even at the renovated Pauley Pavilion, you got to get there. I mean, Kentucky basketball, Rupp Arena is like watching a pro game there, so when you go there, but when you go to UCLA, tell me when you got that many banners, and then even if you had the one that Jim Herrick put up there, that's just another one in the qualifiers, right, that you already have. So yeah, no, Mel, I'm glad you brought up Walton because you just really got me rolling there in terms of being able to talk about Coach Wooden. So if you're going to go off topic that way. All right. No, that was good. We all know about UCLA roots, but now obviously they came more magnified yesterday as well. All right. And I do want to, I know it's off topic a little bit, but I have a young lady named Kate Eichison who is in my system. I'm trying to groom this young lady who just turned 20 today, and I'm going to make sure she listens to this show. She's one of my young up-and-comers. I've never really had a female that ever wanted to be mentored like I have the males, but this little girl here writes really well, and hopefully down the road people will get to recognize her. I'm just trying to bring her along slowly. So, when she approached me through Spencer Tomset, who I'm a part of the National Sports Media Association, and she wrote one of those sincere letters. How can you turn it down? I look at her as like my young daughter now. She's just turned 20. Kate Eichison is a person that you're going to see down the road on some of our networks, but you just have to ease this young girl here. Happy birthday, Kate. All right, Travis, give me your parting shots.
I mean, my parting shot was the report from earlier today about the NFLPA proposing the overhaul the OTAs.
Okay.
That could take place as soon as the 2025 season. And I mean, I've talked to a lot of people about this. I was just at the Jaguars, fourth OTA earlier today, talking to all the different guys in the media room about this. And this is an interesting one because most people seem to be on board with that. This will be a good idea, and I'm just not sold on it. And that's the weirdest part about this.
What is it? What is it they want to do?
So they basically, the basic idea is they wanted to, instead of having OTAs and the rookie mini camp in, let's say, mid June, May, I should say, they want to push that to mid to late July and just kind of have it all as you're still having your rookie mini camp, you're still having your OTAs, but you're just rolling it all into a 4-week time frame right before training camp and just having that all be just one big off season, and they'll have like 6 weeks off instead of that smaller time frame for the rookies after the draft.
So what's the reasoning behind it? What's the motivation behind this?
So the NFLPA is pushing it because they're saying that they did something similar after the COVID season, and a lot of the guys in the NFL said, "Hey, we like what this did to our bodies. We enjoyed this process of having a lot longer time off, consecutively off, instead of having the OTAs and the rookie mini camp, and then having the 6 weeks off, and then going to training camp and re-ramping it back up." And I can understand that argument. Yeah, I fully get that, especially for your bodies and you wanted to have a more of an extended time frame off. My opinion is mainly tied to we all saw what happened in the COVID season. That season started off super slow and it was super rocky. Blocking was sucked. Right. Like there was a few things that were off about that season, and it wasn't just COVID. It was, hey, guys got playbooks later. What about the rookies who are coming in? Like, unless you're going to change those rules and give guys playbooks when you're not physically able to see them and manage them and babysit them, you're going to have problems with guys having slower development. That first year might end up being more of a wash. And there's some downstream impacts that I don't think these guys are necessarily talking about, because again, this is coming from the NFLPA side. And because of that, that's why I'm like, this is going to be a little messier than y'all want it to be as far as that development and as far as that early, playbook installs part of it. And that's the reason I don't like it.
Training camp's not that long anymore anyway.
Well, it's less about training. You get the playbook in OTAs and rookie minicamp, though. So they got 6 weeks of talking about playbooks. Even when they're off, they can still work out with that playbook.
Yeah. We had 6 weeks of training camp when I played, so
yeah, that's fair.
We had
come on, Mel. We know. Wait a minute, Mel. Hold on. Okay, I know what that was all about. Remember, I work with Don Shula, so I know today's players couldn't have handled camps, whatever the coach was, 2 and 3 a days. I know. Give me a break. I'm with you, Mel. Wayne Fonz wasn't no picnic either back in the 80s, even though
there's no camp that was a picnic.
Exactly. That's my point.
I mean, the Rams, it wasn't too bad, I guess, because we're in Southern California. It didn't get to be so hot. But I can tell you that Denver training camp, that was hell.
Oh, I know. Hey, I'm with you. But remember, Mel, we're talking about this generation, not back in the day.
We had 150 guys in camp. And the guys were getting cut every day.
Yeah, exactly.
This probably actually feeds more into their desire to have an 18-week regular season and a 2 preseason game type of thing. Sure. Because you're going to go right from, if they move these forward, you're going to go mini camp, OTA, training camp, preseason of 2 weeks where none of your starters are going to play.
Bingo.
Right. And during some of that preseason, you're going to have those joint practices. You're going to see more of those to try and simulate real-time reps. Mm-hmm. But what you're going to see is a whole lot of what we saw at the beginning of this year, where the first couple of weeks were preseason games because none of your starters played, and offensive lines and receiver timing routes were absolutely garbage.
And they can only wear full pads, once a day, right? They can't have consecutive padded practices now.
It's not even every day.
Yeah, it's not even.
Yeah,
every day.
well, let's just go to the 18 game schedule as we get toward the end of the show here. That's not a matter of if, Bo. It's a matter of when. We all know that. That's a negotiating tool.
This will be a concession in that negotiation.
Exactly. That's my point.
Pushes that.
Yeah, it's a negotiating tool. All right, we'll give you 18, but give us our way. I mean, this has been done all the time. You guys are right on target with that one. That's not a matter of if with the 18. It's a matter of when, depending on what they decide to put.
I think this just lubes the wheels to make that happen.
No question about it. All right,
well,
Robert.
They need to do a better job with the revenue sharing. Forget about all that. They need to do a better job with the revenue sharing if they want to play 18 games. Forget that. This is window dressing.
I mean,
they need to do a better job
until the players get them cojones to truly sit out of games. That's never going to improve, man.
Well, I mean, if they want to play 18, they need to do a better job. I mean, they should have got more. And I don't know if they did or didn't, but when they went to 17 games, they should have got more. They should have negotiated the revenue sharing. If they want to play 18 games, that's fine. We'll play 18, but hey, we got to do better on that revenue sharing.
Well,
they're going to work that.
What is that? 2030.
They're going to work
partners.
They're going to work that out. All right, back to Wardell again.
No, I'm not very confident in them working it out because they haven't done it thus far.
Yeah.
Well,
and Rob, yeah, it was essentially like what we saw last year. I mean, Daniel Jones got sacked 11 times week 1. I mean, those offensive lines were not exactly well-oiled machines coming out of preseason.
Right.
And that's not even touching on injuries, which I know nobody's looking into because the 2020 season was historically they had historic number of injuries that season, and nobody's linking these things together. I'm just like, I'm not trying to be the doomsday guy, but I'm like, I'm sorry, I remember these things. How come y'all don't talk about this?
Well, it's one of the arguments that I made for having the preseason games anyway, because a lot of times people would get hurt in the first preseason game, maybe the second, something like that. And you're out 4 to 6 weeks. Okay. So you come back for week 3. Well, you don't play in the preseason anymore. So now you get hurt week 1, week 2, you miss half the year.
Yeah, good point. Well, again, we're not done talking about this subject, but it's good that you guys brought it up. And one other thing, Robert Wardell, I actually like the idea that Philly would go ahead and try to piss off Jerry. It wouldn't. I actually like it. I mean, after all, they're in the same division, not supposed to like each other anyway. So, great show tonight. I love the energy, especially on some of the topics we hit on. So, with that said, as we get ready to wrap this puppy up, we're going to have Candy on for a station break, and then we're going to go around the horn for promotional stuff. Go ahead, Candy.
Station identification. If you'd like to sponsor a show, call Scott 954-304-4941. If you're seeing this show and it's the first time and you have not subscribed, hit that subscribe button. Share us to all your friends and family. Monday nights we talk baseball. Tuesday nights we talk football. Wednesday nights you never know what we're going to be talking about. Anything from NFL to NBA to NHL to cornhole. You name it, we talk about it. Thursday nights to be determined. On Wednesday nights, Scott has a new show on nofilter.net. It's a one-on-one interview show. You have to check us out. Tomorrow night, it's going to be Scott with John Bonamago, coach. If you like podcasts and like to listen, we're on all the podcast platforms, Apple, Google, iHeartRadio, Spotify, all of them. Check us out. Check out our website, www.southfloridatribune.com. We have transcripts from Dolphins, Jags, Lions, local colleges down here in Florida. We also have Scott Writes, George Eichhorn writes, I take pictures. Go check out our website. And then, if you want to learn more about the media business and how it's changed over 40 years, go buy Scott's book, Lessons from the Microphone, Tuning into the Enduring Wisdom of Visionary Leaders. He's got lots of stories. Obviously, he can talk, because look at him talk here. He tells you all kinds of interesting stories in the book. Gotta go get it. Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kindle, Apple, or Google. Back to you, Scott.
All right. Thank you very much, Candy. Appreciate you. Also on Twitter at Tribune South. With that said, let's whip around the horn. Bo Crouch, let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
Yeah, so you can find me here every Tuesday night on all the socials at Football Talk with Bo, on my YouTube channel at Football-Talk, and of course, Roku TV 5 days a week.
Excellent. All right, Travis, go ahead.
You can find me on all the socials, Travis D. Holmes. Yeah, you can find my writings covering the Jacksonville Jaguars on bigcatcountry.com. If you're interested in the Jacksonville Jaguars podcast, we also have a podcast on Fridays at 11 a.m., wherever you catch your podcasts. It's a Duval Dive, a Jaguars podcast with myself and a student of the game, Kyle Nash, with the Jaguar Report. And you can find me here every week inside the pigskin and ever so often on the Sports Exchange and Pundits Pundit. As always, thank you for having me.
Hey, Robert Wardell, we're working on getting the audio book. Let me tell you, we've had a boatload of requests for it. So thanks for coming on every week, and stay tuned for updates. This is something we know we have to get done. There's so much demand for it that we're going to do it. But Robert, I'll tell you what, you were a star in this show, and we also want to appreciate the contributions of smoking.
You want to get James Earl Jones to narrate it for you?
Yes.
Hey, listen, Mel, let me tell you, Mel, you have somebody that wants to do the audio book? Give me a call. You have my number. But meanwhile, you can go ahead and let everybody know how they can get a hold of you.
All the social media at Melfar Jr. And then you can follow what we have going on here in Detroit and also in Michigan, and support the foundation at melfarsuperstarfoundation.org.
Very good. Well, you know what? Great turnout tonight. I love the energy. We only went with a few topics, parting shots. And what did we get? We had a loaded show tonight. So once again, I want to thank Bo Crouch and Travis Holmes and Mel Farr, the regular on the show. We look for they're on every week. Don't miss them. And again, please follow them. And if they have respective YouTube channels or whatever, please follow them. We want to make sure that you're loyal to them, and we appreciate your loyalty to us. And I'll say it one last time because I really take pride in this little girl. Happy birthday, Kate Aitchison. You have a bright future ahead of you, and we look forward to seeing you down the road. Keep up the good work, young lady. All right. So with that said, on behalf of Bo Crouch, Mel Farr Jr., and Travis Holmes, my name is Scott Morgan, Rock the Motor City Madmouth. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Inside the Pigskin. We'll see you next Tuesday night. Good night, everybody.